Gartner says the global semiconductor market contracted last year, although, of course, chips for mobile devices were a bright spot. The research firm says worldwide chip sales came in at just under $300 billion. That's down 2.5% from 2011. Those numbers include sales of companies that design chips, not the foundries that make them. Let's look at the companies. Intel, still the runaway leader, almost $50 billion in chip sales last year, but that is down from the previous year. Intel, of course, has a lot of exposure to the PC market, and that market has been suffering. But Intel has introduced some competitive chipsets for mobile devices. The company recently had a big win with CTE, and it's also getting into chipsets for set-top boxes, which is another growth area. Next up, Samsung, $28.6 billion in sales. Samsung was one of the only companies to increase chip sales last year. It creates many of the chips for its own mobile devices. It also builds some of the chips for Apple's iPhones, but again, these numbers do not include foundry sales. Qualcomm is a standout on this list. The company surged into third place with $13 billion in sales, and that's up more than 30% from last year. Qualcomm, of course, makes mobile processors and modems for many of the top-selling smartphones. Texas Instruments saw sales slip 5% to $11 billion. TI is not a big player in chips for consumer mobile devices, but it does have a strong presence in mobile infrastructure, including small cells. And finally, Toshiba. Sales skidded almost 10% to just over $10 billion. Toshiba is a big player in the memory chip market, which has been hurt by the weak global economy. Together, these 5 companies had less than 40% of the overall chip market. Among smaller companies, Broadcom was a standout. Sales up almost 10% to $7.8 billion. Broadcom makes connectivity chipsets like Wi-Fi and Bluetooth for mobile devices. It also makes NFC chips, mobile processors, and LTE modems.